We have these screws and nuts in place. It's time to start making some plastic that will actually hold those pieces together. So I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into one of the sides. And now I really need to be inside the assembly. So I'm going to close this piece out. I'm going to hit yes to whatever saves. And I'm going to double click again. That's going to let me work on the part in situ. I'm now going to start a sketch on here. And we're going to start by projecting geometry that we're working on. So I'm going to tilt this a little bit so I can see which side I'm working on. I'm going to turn on construction mode. That's going to make the prints not extrudable. It's going to let me reference them though. And I'm going to project the geometry of this nut, this bolt head, and this nut. I'm now going to turn off construction mode, and I'm going to go back to looking at this straight on. And now we need to build some holding spots. Now, to make things look pretty, I'm going to make everything the same size. So I'm going to base on the nut because the nut's bigger than the screw. And I'm going to dimension from this flat edge to the flat surface. I want to make sure I see that circle icon, not the line-based icon. If I click on the circle icon, I can now set the X amount of plastic around from that flat, and I'm going to set the 0.1. It might be a little bit overkill, but that's fine. Now, I actually don't want to extrude extra stuff. I'm going to draw a line across here, and I'm going to use the trim tool to remove this edge. That way I have a D shape that's going to be right on top of there. I also don't want this undercut here, so I'm going to actually make this more like a basketball keyway. So I'm going to draw a line straight down. I'm going to draw the same thing on the other side. If it doesn't turn black right away, it's probably because it's not vertical and tangent. So it's vertical, it's still purple, and I'm going to make it tangent to the circle, and that's going to make a nice hard black line. And just so that it extrudes properly, I'm going to close this triangle. I'm going to close the triangle by clicking on that spot where it connects and to where it connects here. And we can also, if we wanted to, we could trim off this line here. So in fact, I'll even do that. So I'm going to split, and I'm going to split this line here, and I'm going to split this line here. And then we can take this line here and just set it to construction so that it's still there, but it doesn't actually be extrudable anymore. So that's one piece. I also need to have a socket area for the screw stand. I'm just going to build this section here. So I'm going to draw a circle concentric with this the shaft of the screw, and I'm going to dimension this with a small tolerance, probably 0.0125, and then I'm going to draw that shape 3 times. One thing I can do is if I highlight this, I should be able to Control C, Control V, and move this whole thing here. It's going to lose some of the constraints. I'm going to take this dimension off, and I'm going to re-project the geometry here. Control Z. I want to be in construction mode when I add this geometry. So I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to hit project geometry and put this guy back. And now I'm going to dimension from this point here to this point here. And I'm going to select this dimension right here. That way it's all tied together. I'm also going to make sure that this thing here is tied properly. Oh, and that's because this circle here is not there. So I'm going to set this constructed circle equal to this constructed circle. Now the third one is going to have to be a little more clever about, because I can't just put it in. I'd have to put it and rotate it, and that is often a much more difficult task. I'll make sure these are horizontal to each other. So I'm going to just draw the shape manually this time. Draw a big circle, dimension, click on the circle, make sure it's not a construction. Dimension this circle from here to the flat. Oh, you have to go from the flat to the circle to get that other symbol pop up there. And again, I'm going to click on the dimension so it's equal. I'm then going to draw my 2 lines. Make sure construction mode is off. Draw this line here to here. And then I'm going to draw a line connecting those. So I'm going down to here. And I'll make sure this line is horizontal. And I want to make sure this point line is connected there. And I'll make sure this line is tangent to the circle. This to be smooth. And then I'm going to take and split this line here and here. And I can take this line and make it construction, make this line a construction, and take this line here. We're going to split that at the top of here. So split cuts the line. Now I can take that line, also make construction, and make this last one construction. Now we can extrude, and because everything is centered, I can grab all these three things. I want to push them. Go back to my sketch. I forgot to draw my other circle. So I could look straight on, but I can also draw it at an angle. Use coincident to put that point on the center point, and then dimension this, set this circle equal to this circle. Now we can extrude and select all three of these guys. And I'm going to use the two next and click on the front of the bolt. And if I look from the side, we should see that it goes right to the same point on the nut and the bolt because they're all the same plane. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to give me my basic flange. Now, that would be okay, except I really want to receive the nut and hold it in place. And I actually want to take and taper these so I can print them vertically and have this sit at a nice angle. And we'll do that in the next video.